Hello, good morning. This is Anime Los Angeles 2024. We're the California Conventions blog. I got my friend here, Ryan, and this is Jeriko reporting in here from sunny Long Beach. We have here Akakioga Cosplay. Am I saying that right?
It's Akakioga. You were close.
I was close.
It's very hard to pronounce if you're like just kind of looking at it.
Yes.
And you're like, why did you pick this name? No, I'm just kidding.
And Selenerah Cosplay.
Yeah, Selenerah.
I hope I got that right.
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. So on Friday, both of you led a diversity in cosplay panel. Can you give us a brief rundown of what happened there?
Sure. So just kind of as an overview of the panel, that the diversity cosplay panel is a panel that I've kind of put on specifically for conventions to kind of give insight to why inclusivity in this community is so important, and to make sure that we are having that conversation openly so that people can, come in with an open mind and just be willing to experience what that talk kind of looks like. I know it's not like the easiest thing to listen to when you're talking about, like racism and things like that, like within the community, but I think that at least for us, it's like super important for people to just be aware of those things. And so yesterday really was just kind of us being able to talk about our own experiences, like being in cosplay, what it's like to kind of, what can we do as a community to have more people feel more welcome in this community. And I hope that at least it felt that way.
Honestly, it did. We were in attendance. Check out our footage later when we post it. We were in attendance of your panel, and we did record the whole thing. So hope you don't mind if we post it on our news channel.
Go ahead.
Awesome, thank you. I guess one of the things that I would have liked to hear more about is, at least from a personal standpoint, coming from like folks with disabilities.
Yeah.
So, not to get too much into my own history, I do have mobility disability.
Yeah.
So, for me, it's kind of hard to be able to move around a lot as I used to as a cosplayer. So that kind of affects how I cosplay. Now, in regards to that, where do you think we should do more in terms of trying to service our fellow cosplayers who have physical disabilities?
How we have the quiet lounge for people that, sensory overload. There needs to be one for like specifically disabled people where they can relax, maybe have access to cane, wheelchairs, anything that they need so they can come up. I wouldn't really know how much I would be able to, like how much input I could give on this. I'm studying to be a physical therapist, so I'm always like learning about how to like help disabled people, but I'm not a con runner, like I don't know what they would like, because if it were up to me, there would be rooms with couches and beds and like places for people to really just like.
Honestly, I like that point of view. Can you actually do you actually express that, wanting beds, couches, or something like that for most folks? Like, can you explain more?
It just needs to be available because everyone has different issues with walking. ALA's top star yesterday, the girl who won, she has a walking disability. So she did the whole thing, and then when she finished, they brought her cane. So having a space for her where she can get the people she needs, having to take medication, anything she can need to just be away from the con and regroup, and it not be like literally separate from the quiet green room. It needs to be one for disabled people,
And I know, even for, I also staff at conventions, so I'm not like the runner of the con, but I do staff it on the cosplay side. And the biggest thing that we advocate for a lot is having ramps everywhere, especially because I do run, or at least I kind of help run the costume competitions. And it hasn't really been up until recently where ramps have become readily accessible to getting people off and on stages. We even have stage ninjas who will absolutely gladly we've had folks in wheelchairs that need to get up on the stage. We'll have stage ninjas roll them on, and they can do their performance, and then they'll help get them off. There's people that I also feel like we need to set aside inaccessibility. to have that as a group of staffers dedicated to those specific tasks. And I don't feel like a lot of conventions have as many staffers to be able to do that, but I do believe like having very specific people who have that knowledge or kind of have that insight to be able to say like, I think this would be important, we should keep this in mind, we should have like maybe more like access to like rest areas, or hey, we need a room for like X, Y, and Z. All of these things like absolutely should matter. And even just in the convention center itself, what does the layout look like? You know, like how do you get in? How do you get out? Can you get into the rooms that you want to? Where's the nearest elevator? You know, like all of those things should always be in that conversation, but I do think that having a very specific group of staff members who that is their job to be able to advocate for those things to the con owners would absolutely be like a tremendous help in this community.
If I add, like piggybacking off of that, we don't want disabled people to feel helpless, you know, so having these spaces available like reinforce independence too, you know, you don't, yeah, you just want to be able to do it, you know, and know that you're going to have everything that you need so you can do it safely and carefully.
Right. So, that kind of answers some of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I remember when I was wheelchair bound for a little bit, and I was trying to get through Anime Expo.
Oh my
God.
Oh no. At the LA Convention Center. Oh.
Yeah, doing Anime Expo in a wheelchair, a hospital wheelchair movie is hard.
Yeah.
Trying to get to downtown LA
It is
not an
rough
accessible
terrain.
city.
It is rough. But for some people out there, especially with ones who have like physical disabilities like myself and others, anime conventions are an escape.
Right. You still need that outlet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they're an escape from like the daily struggles we have.
Right.
You know, and I know it's not something we can really equate to when it comes to facing the challenges on the racial level, but I'm not sure if that's something you guys also have also feel as well.
It's definitely something I've thought about more because I mean my mom was actually like in attendance at the panel as well, and
She's adorable, by the way.
I know. I literally like the reason why I cosplay still to this day. She was my biggest support outside of this one right here. She was the one who took me to my very first convention in 2006 Anime Expo. Back when it was all the way in Anaheim.
Oh yeah, geriatric weaves here.
Oh yeah, I remember when it was small, when you could walk in and buy a badge like without waiting in a line.
God,
I remember that, and so I'm starting to get the accessibility part in my mind more because my mom is also very much so like kind of in a position where like she cannot walk very far. She has to use a cane or a walker because like unfortunately like, she got a stroke a few years ago, and she's getting her strength back. Like she's the most independent I've seen her in years, but I still have to think about how is she getting in here.
Right.
And like ever since then, I feel like that kind of conversation for me has kind of been something I've been listening in on a little bit more and trying to be like, okay, I have to think about this because this was not a world that like I had to be aware of, and I think that that's the reason why I feel like this question is important and why the panel is important is because it's like, hey, I bet you didn't think about this, but now that you heard it, now you have no excuse to be ignorant to it. So she's kind of been my kind of like spyglass into the world of accessibility and how important it is. And I want to kind of continue being an advocate if I can as an able-bodied person to be like, we need to care about these people too because they deserve to be here just as much as we do.
Exactly. I mean, as someone has to deal with the struggle. Ryan, I know you wanted to ask him about cosplay as a person, especially as being Filipino. So, you have something for him?
And I have more of a different question from that aspect.
No, it's awesome.
If I did recall, you mentioned at the demo that you were a licensed therapist.
Yes.
Do you feel like outside of like just being that form of escapism being here, do you feel like cosplay or at least even creating cosplay is a form of therapy?
Yes, 110%. Honestly, it kind of was my therapy before I even knew what therapy was, because I'm a very textile person, so I love getting to like work with my hands, and when I get anxious or when I start getting in my head, being able to make something really kind of takes the edge off of just being like, why am I thinking so much out here when I can like use that energy and put it into something creative, you know? And even in my own therapy, like I absolutely have told clients like, hey, you like video games, you like anime, like have you ever considered cosplay? Even if it's not something that like you make yourself, but like just being able to embody a different person for a day, being able to maybe explore gender. Like I absolutely have friends in the trans community who have explored being a different gender and then they've actually transitioned. And so this is the community where you could quite literally do and be whoever you want in a safe environment, or at least hoping it to be safer to be able to explore those kind of things. So if anything too, I do absolutely believe that like cosplay can be a form of therapy, and I've joked with my mom before that like, why can't I just make cosplay therapy? Because play therapy exists. Play therapy already exists. So then why not incorporate having, you know, clients put costumes on and exploring different personalities of like what they want to vibe with. How do you want to like engage with other people? I know maybe, hey, maybe you have social anxiety as yourself, but what if you were, you know, Bakugo from My Hero who has no problem telling somebody off? What would that look like, you know? So it's such a cool way to just explore. I think explore and just be creative is kind of what this is. And it really cultivates this kind of idea that you can be whoever you want. And even for me, like I used to be like the most introverted person until people started putting me up on stage and say, hey, we want you to talk about cosplay. And I'm like, hi. So even for me, it's kind of helped me get out of my own shell. Like we're both pretty like ambiverted people, but I do feel like being in cosplay, we kind of go a little bit more into the extroverted, little bit.
You're a little more extroverted than me.
I have to be. We both can't just be like, but I'm gonna go disassociate when I get home. So like it's kind of, you know, it's a time to, you know, spread your wings and fly, but then also you need breaks, you know. So being able to just kind of go back and just chill is also good too. Yeah, you don't need to be on all the time. Trust me, it's tiring.
I think one of the questions I had is, you know, being a person of color. Are you hoping that, I mean, not just in anime or video games, but like in other media, you hope there's others kinds of representation from like other nationalities, ethnicities? Like, say for example, like we're Filipino. You know, you don't. Yeah, but
hey, it's one drop.
Just takes one drop.
One drop. It counts.
But for us, you know, sometimes it's hard to find someone out in the you know, popular culture where it's like, oh hey, you know, I know that Filipino superhero or like so and so. You know, best we got is right now I think Joe Boy. He's a comedian. Do you think that we need more of that kind of representation from all walks of life, not just, you know, because I noticed when, so weird story, but it's gonna tie in. I remember watching Raya the Last Dragon.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be Southeast Asian influence. After I watched it, I'm like, who is this for?
Right. Okay.
Where do I relate in terms of this film?
Right.
It's like I saw it turning red. Like I absolutely know where it came
I
from.
love that.
And I love Turning Red so much.
It was so good. Coming of age movies are always my favorites too.
But for Raya the Last Dragon, it's like, who am I here? Who can I relate to? Do you think it's something that we need to work on more and just not exploring, like, do you think we need to explore even more? Like, First Nation peoples or, like, you know, people like from tribes and nobody's even heard of.
Absolutely. And I think there's like a lack of media literacy going around too. So like, literally when everyone freaked out when they thought Thor was going to be a girl. But when you actually read the comics and you watch the movie, Thor is still Thor. He's still there. And in fact, the backlash was so bad that Jane Foster, they just, well, bye. She was Thor only for 5 minutes, okay? Relax, you know? But like, I think it's we're reaching a point where people are bored with the same stories represented by the same people all the time. Like, straight up, we're black. We know. They sprinkle us in there. We're either the sassy friend or, you know, all these archetypes and stuff. And then you see Asian characters, and there might maybe be one, and they're evil. So it's like there's so many more narratives that we're not getting that could be told. And I know you know that.
Like, I feel, and the people who are like in charge of that stuff too, we already know that the board of directors who's in charge of all of this stuff, we already know what they look like. They're not us, right? And I feel like in terms of even we took it back to convention wise, like having a diverse group of just cosplayers in general. You see, like our round table had so many different types of people on it. And you need that for media too, because if you only have one perspective from and you're trying to put on a white centered movie, but the board is all white, right? What are you gonna get? You're gonna get a very stereotyped type of movie unless they put in as much research as possible, but it's still not gonna be our voices, right? So it's kind of a two-way street. It's like on one hand, yes, I absolutely agree that we can touch on literally everything. Why not? Literally the question is, why not? The sky's the limit. But I also do think that we need to be respectful of all of that and have the people's voices who are those people be the ones who are telling those stories as well, so it is more, you feel like this could be me. Instead of it being like, okay, it was just a cute movie with little culture sprinkled in for literally it's the salt and pepper of seasoning. You could do more.
You have to stop trying to appease white audiences too. Because it's been really about trying to ease them into seeing different faces, and we see different faces every day. You know, out there in our neighborhoods, here,
I'm still mad about Princess and the Frog.
Stop. 80% of that movie.
80% of the movie, she was a frog.
Animal.
We still don't really have a black Disney princess who has been in the screen time for half of the movie.
She was in the dress more in the trailer.
I've seen her more in the Disney parks, as the actual person than in the movie itself.
Off topic, what do you think about the new fit they're putting for Splash Mountain?
I am so excited for that. They made so many people mad. They're like, bar culture, but this was tradition. I'm like, so y'all just agree that this was racist, right? So you're just like, hey, I draw the line at racism, but I want the Splash Mountain ride. It's like, this could be so much better, guys. This ride has been here for years. We don't need it anymore. It's 2024 now.
Y'all ever seen Song of the South?
Right? It's the most racist piece of art that had ever come out. And everyone's like, oh, this is the greatest ride ever. I'm like, y'all are not uncomfortable listening to all of this? Every time I went on that ride, I was like, I'm happy they're changing it to Tiana. I'm so happy. She needs more anyway, but I'm glad that they made it for her, so they're gonna actually make it nice.
Right.
They better make a restaurant.
Oh my god.
Yeah, is it gonna be in the Bayou area?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
They actually changed it from French Market to that. Actually heard about that recently. They changed it to the French Market for the restaurant.
Oh, they did?
The only reason why I know is I still have friends that work there that I worked with when I was at Disney.
Do they have some man catching beignets?
I hope so.
I bet those beignets are awesome.
Ryan, did you have another question for me?
Given I believe we're all in our 30s here, right? Given how anime, cosplay, everything was a niche back in our time, in the early years, we're all back then they saw us what the hell are y'all doing?
Right.
Do you think now it's more of a wider, broad perspective? Is it really broad, or is kind of bringing out to an even wider audience for cosplay and just our culture in general?
I feel like all those live action remakes kind of help more secular audiences go because they're not going to watch the anime, but if it's just a new show, it's oh, okay, well, what's this? And then it's oh, One Piece is an anime. So
I did somehow get my dad interested into Death Note.
okay, see?
When the live action movies came out, the Viz dub and everything. I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. He's like, so like, Dad, did you know there's like an entire series of comic book you can read? It's like, no, it's cartoons. You know, I tried.
I mean, he's a murderer, but
Cartoons. I actually bought the Death Note when I was a kid, thinking that was so cool. And then I tried to trick people into buying it too.
Oh God.
I was that kid. I was bringing just anime stuff to school like that. I brought a kunai to school once. Naruto was big back in the day too.
Are you telling me? No, that's my junior high. What are you talking about? No, I was there. No, that was my memory.
You're just like, that was a core memory of mine. We're like kind of even bouncing off of just pushing anime into this more secular culture of putting it on Netflix. A lot of celebrities are kind of also coming out saying that they have been anime fans, but they too have kind of been afraid of being open and honest about it. Like Meg Thee Stallion's one of the big ones that I can think of. Like now she's full on cosplay. Sure, she's not going to come to conventions because like she's a celebrity, right? But like her being able to just kind of do this in her space, I feel like is opening, at least even in like Black community for us, is like introducing it to like more Black people, because this is definitely was not a Black thing. Right. We were very much so treated like, oh, that's this. Why are you into anime? That's white people stuff. You're weird for that, right?
Well, in all honesty, look, think about it. Okay, so I'm pretty sure y'all heard Wu-Tang. And you know how they love, you know how when they first started out, they like really embrace the Chinese kung fu films.
Yeah.
I gotta wonder, is that the same with anime nowadays? With like, say, like wider people in some ways? I can't say, you know, obviously can't speak for everybody. But I don't know, I just feel like there's that feeling where they, like, I remember your panels like, Piccolo, is he one of you guys?
Right.
Jet Black, yes.
Like man to me.
I feel like there's like, it's just like a coded kind of thing. It's just more like a feeling of like, I feel like there's a vibe here that like kind of resonates. It's like a resonance. And it's really hard to just say like, no, this character is this, but I don't know, we just kind of claimed him.
And no one fought it.
And no one fought it. Like, we're like, Pickle, yeah, he want us. He can come to cookout.
Right.
You know? Like literally the better father, like let's be real. Like,
now, when it comes to cosplay competitions, as you both competed and judged.
Oh, I am not competing. I am not judged.
yeah, that is my world.
Yeah.
Where do you find the line? Like, I guess this also ties back to both in terms of like being a person of culture, person of color. I mean, I think it's a person of color. Person of color, and say someone who has a disability. Where do you account for that in terms of judging the cosplay?
You don't. I don't care if you come in a wheelchair and a costume. I'm not going to judge the wheelchair. The wheelchair to me is invisible because the rest, like you made the costume, and it's not your fault that you know are not able bodied. Why would I judge you? Even in terms of just like putting like race and ethnicity and other stuff into like, I don't care if you're not the same color, or the same body type, or the same anything. All I am judging is what you made, not what you do not have control over. So that's kind of how I as a judge anyway, kind of tackle that, because I have had people come in with like, their aides and, maybe other support systems that are like, hey, like I need them here, I need this to be able to compete, and I'm like, absolutely, bring them in, because I want you to feel just as included as anybody else who can just walk in here with no problem, or anybody who feels like, oh well, I made a locked wig instead of a straight wig that the other cosplayers do. I'm like, but I can still tell who you are, right? That's really all that matters to me, and I'm really trying to push that at the competition that I judge, especially the convention that I staff. That's really important to me, and it's also important to have a diverse group of judges, and not just like 3 people who relatively look the same, that kind of come from the same background, because it's gonna be an echo chamber. Right? You want people who not only have different skill sets, but also different mindsets, so that all three of you can kind of come together and make this beautiful, homogenous, hey, we're all here with different perspectives, but we're coming together so that we can have that be a shared experience for everyone to preach it and things like that.
I don't inherently challenge any biases anyone's spoken to. Sometimes you're like, oh, why would so and so and so? And then the judge next to you can be like, oh, well, I see why you did so and so and so. Like, oh, okay, cool. You know, just.
Yeah.
Now, this kind of ties into it. What about the cosplayers who implement, like, say, their assistive devices into, like, their presentation or into, like, their own cosplay? Like, would you care for that?
Like, what if they put flowers on the wheelchair, you know? Like,
I think that's awesome. You know, like if they want to include that into their costume, that's totally cool. You can say like, hey, this is part of it. Mm-hmm. So if the cosplayer is the person that says this is part of my costume, you can absolutely add that to like some of the points that they get. But if they don't mention it, then I'm not gonna point it out. So I want them to tell me what they're the most proud of and what they want me to see. Anything after that, I'm not even gonna look into it that way.
Glad you did. Right. Anything else for anybody?
Like, hold on, let him cook.
Alright, it's a bit of a story. I guess another thing I wanted to ask is, for me, I used to compete in masquerade in terms of performance, in terms of presentation and performance. How important do you think that aspect of cosplay is when you're done? Or is it only practice?
So I'm primarily do craftsmanship, so I can't fully speak on the masquerade performance side of it, unfortunately. I do love watching them because I get to also kind of sit there and like watch the performances while we're kind of like silently doing our own little judging for the craftsmanship people. And I wish I actually know somebody who would be a perfect athlete to be able to talk about that to me with. I don't want to take their voices away, and so I would absolutely if you're ever interested, I can absolutely send you people that I know that have judged specifically masquerade performances if you want to also get their voices and input too.
Awesome. So for how long have you been doing this panel? And do you hope to keep on doing this panel?
So yes, I definitely want to continue doing this panel. I've been doing this panel, I want to say, since 2016. I love when I have more people on it. Most of the time, conventions only have me on it, and that's when it's a detriment because I can only speak on behalf of myself and my own personal experiences. I ask them, please bring the rest of your cosplay guests onto this panel because, I don't want to be the only voice here. And that's why I brought her with me because her voice and my voice are two different voices. We have two different perspectives on what we engage with and how we experience pretty much the same thing in cosplay, right?
Totally different story.
Right. So what I'm gonna say, she may not experience that and vice versa. So the more people you have on it, the greater it's gonna be. And again, I'm gonna continue to push this panel to any convention that I go to, and I'm gonna continue to try and get it on. I can't speak on everything, and I don't want to, because I don't want to speak on it. That's not my Bible.
Oh, yeah. And how do you think us as the cosplay community should be advocating to be able to have more people be able to speak up about representing themselves?
Yeah. So usually when conventions are over, they always have kind of like a feedback survey. You can always put that in the survey and say hey, I went to this panel or I didn't see this panel and I would like for that to be something you guys consider for future conventions. Because it really starts with the attendees because they want to make you happy because they want to make you come back the next year. And your feedback and that stuff really matters. Half the conventions that I end up guesting at are because people have asked me to be there. So if you want to kind of see more of these voices be heard and you want to continue to see certain types of programming, it does come from the attendees first. Because the board of directors is not going to think of everything, but takes a tribe to kind of move them out. You know,
They do want feedback. You could very easily be like, had a great time. Needs more Filipinos. Thanks. Like,
you really could. They're gonna be like, thanks, but someone's gonna think about
right?
it.
They're gonna be like, oh wow, someone felt underrepresented here.
Yeah, like what can we do?
Can use a little bit of concept. Finish all these for that fact check. You still cooking, brother?
So, given both of your guys' experience in the field, I have to ask, from someone who's just kind of just starting out standpoint, given the way I say it is like closet cosplay, being able to like get something like out of your closet, buy something at Goodwill, like assemble a whole cosplay together.
Yeah.
Like, given that someone who doesn't have maybe that experience or doesn't have that, doesn't have like a bunch of finances to do high-end props, high-end cosplay, like, do you feel like they should be like excluded, or I think what I'm trying to say is, should we embrace and be more inclusive to those among us?
They're just as valid as the people that you see up on panels that make everything by hand or have been featured in video games and stuff. Like, they didn't start.
So I made a boo-boo. So yeah, I forgot to change the SD card before the interview, so unfortunately we did lose, I think, the last 5 minutes of our interview. I really wish we would have caught it, but that's my fault, that's my oversight, so, you know, I'll take responsibility for it. But to sum up the last 5 minutes, Ryan was asking, hey, you know, can you cosplay on a budget, and can it be a good cosplay on a budget? And Akakioga and Selenerah, they said absolutely, you know. And the thing is, the point is, though, from what they said, do it because you enjoy it. Do it because you want to be the character. Do it because you like to cosplay. You know, do it because you want to do you. You know, and that's the main thing and main message throughout this entire interview, is that cosplay is about you doing you at the end of the day. And I firmly believe that that's something that I think I lost personally, since I've been on hiatus on cosplay myself personally. You know, for myself, I haven't really been serious about cosplay for a while, so yeah. But to wrap it up, this is mostly an apology video. Sorry, Akakioga and Selenerah. I really wished that we caught that last 5 minutes, but you know, like I said, it's my fault, it's my responsibility. I'll eat the bad news bagel that I created. However, I will like to say that thank you so much for inspiring me to jump back into cosplay, and I'm really hoping by the summertime that I'll find something to, you know, really dive in and find that spark and passion again. So thanks again. I really hope we see each other again on the convention circuit, both of you. I really do. But yeah, this is Jeriko with the California Conventions blog. Signing out from the editor's, well, technically my office, but you know, whatever. Yeah, it's my little man cave. Yeah, doggy right there. But yeah, in any case, Have a good one, guys. Take care. Hope to see you at the next con. Alright. This is where I say goodbye now. Bye.